Liz Hardwick is one of the UK's most popular tech trainers. And if you've ever been lucky enough to see her train in person, you'll understand why. She's incredibly smiley, very down to earth, and is a real approachable expert. But she prides herself on being able to demystify tech so that everybody is able to be digitally included. Her unique and impressive training style has led her to be acknowledged by some of the top lists in the UK, and she has appeared in the Tech Women 100, the Tech World's top 3 UK women in tech speakers, BC's 101 female founders in tech, and Digital Leaders UK 100. She describes herself as a digital productivity specialist, and that is what she's here to talk to us about today. She's looking at top integrations and automations for boosting productivity. And if I know Liz, it's going to be a hugely enjoyable session. So please join me in welcoming the fabulous Liz Hardwick.
Hi everyone, welcome to this ES Tech 2022 session on top integrations and automations for boosting productivity. This will be an interactive session, so please get the downloadable, get a pen and paper to hand. We're going to go through some exercises. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to have some prompts. We're going to do a little bit of work together. And we're going to focus on a few key points with the next just short on an hour together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get straight into the content and we're going to get going. So in this session, we're going to look at how to review and optimize your current workflows for optimal effects. It's good to see where you are right now and start from the very beginning before launching into integrations and automations. Now, it's always useful for us to set the scene and figure out actually what is the difference between the two, because sometimes it's not actually as obvious as you think. And some examples for free and low cost tools that actually can help you in streamlining and automating your tasks and your processes. And we'll go through some really nice examples in our session together today. So let's start with the definitions. So I want us just to all understand what the differences are. So I've already used some phrases in the title of this session. We've used phrases as well that we might all not necessarily understand what each one is. So I wanted to just break them down for you so we know what we're talking about in this session today. So digital workflow is the series of steps in the process. So a workflow is the steps that you go through. A digital workflow is the digital elements within that process. So there still might be some manual elements included in that, but the digital workflow is the steps that you use. Digital integrations are where two things integrate and talk to each other. Now, here in this example, we're using standard format. So they understand and talk to each other in a very streamlined way. So you might have seen, if you've ever logged into any tools, a tab called integrations. And that's where we normally link two things together and they integrate. An integration is a type of automation. Integration is where it's almost like the default things that talk to each other. Automations go one step further. They might have multiple steps in a process. They might also have several distribution processes that they're trying to get to. So we'll look at both of these in the session, and the automation being parts of those processes, and then just understanding the difference. So as we go through the session, just so we all know a little bit more about the introductions of the definitions we're going to use. So I've introduced you to the definitions. I'd love to introduce you to me as well. Hello to those of you who I've not met before. My name's Liz Hardwick, and I'm very happy to be back joining ES Tech for 2022. So I am a digital and productivity specialist, specializing in digital productivity. So using digital to help you reclaim your time, energy, and focus. I'm also a professional speaker and speak at conferences around the world and online, and also helped entrepreneurs, teams, and businesses help reclaim that time and be really more focused with these sorts of digital productivity tools. So hopefully you're in the right hands. I have automated some of the processes within my business, and I absolutely love helping people. This is just a scratching the surface of the things that we're going to talk about today in terms of workflow integration and automation. I'll share with you my contact details at the end if you'd like to talk more about bespoke training or getting me in to speak at a conference more specifically around your bespoke needs. But hopefully that'll give you a little bit of a flavour for me for now. So we'll get started in thinking about workflow. We start talking about workflow before we start talking about automation and integration, because I think it is really important to see what you've already got available to you. This doesn't only save you time and money, but it also saves you energy as well, because what you might find is the tools that you already have at your disposal potentially do the job that you're looking for. As a stat here, 64% of features in the products are rarely or never used. So we're only starting to really use a small percentage of what each program does. So if you've ever used MS Teams, for example, and never used the praise option, do you know what that is? Is that that's an added feature that's part of it, but most people have never even heard of it or used it. So there's loads of examples like that. So that's why I want you to start off thinking about workflow first and what tools you're using. So digital review. So a digital workflow review, if you will, that's a whole session in itself. So I just want to give you some pointers in terms of questions to take away. You'll find these questions in the downloadable PDF as part of this session, or if you've got a pen and paper to hand or digital notes to hand, you might want to just think about some of these questions. I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes now to just reflect on some of these processes, some of these thoughts that you're going through. So I'm going to go through each question and give you a tiny little bit of time just to think about it. This in itself is a separate session, and this might be an activity you want to take away and spend some time with your team and your execs and maybe the wider business scenario as well. So it's always worth having a think about. You might feel like you can't answer some of these questions, but have a good guess just for now. And then we're going to move on to picking a particular process that we're going to work on together today. So what programs are you already using? So this goes a bit hand in hand with that stat just then about the 64%. How many percentages of those features do you think you're using? So if you're using Outlook, are you like 90% using absolutely every feature, or you know of every feature and have decided to dismiss it? That can also be part of the conversation as well. Or do you feel like Excel, I'm only using 10% of it? I know there's loads of functionality in there, but I'm not using it, or I'm choosing not to use it, or I don't know enough about it. So that can be a good gauge on what you're already having access to